The Dodgers took a baby step forward tonight, beating the Rockies. And like my mom always said, a baby step forward is better than a baby step backward. Let's talk about it live on Locked On Dodgers.
You are Locked On Dodgers, your daily Los Angeles Dodgers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, Dodger fans, this is Locked On Dodgers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks to our everydayers for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen every weekday morning, and thanks to those of you who are with us live here on whatever evening this is, Monday evening. Remember, this show is free and available on all podcast platforms and on YouTube simply by searching for Locked On Dodgers. So please subscribe wherever you're watching or listening right now. If this is your first time with us, my name is Jeff Snider. My normal co-host is Vince Samperio, but that's not Vince. That's my buddy Clint Pasillas. Vince and Clint and I are all lifelong Dodger fans, just like most of you. We've also all spent time covering the Dodgers in the press box and the locker room, so we bring you the smart fans' perspective on our boys in blue every weekday morning. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $250 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. And Clint, the Dodgers took a baby step forward tonight, beating the Rockies. We're going to talk about that baby step and how in some ways it's less satisfying than a huge step would have been, but maybe a little bit positive about that. Then we're going to talk about Dustin May and how his step was anything but baby, continues to dominate. And then at the end, we will talk about the latest rumors that maybe the Dodgers might be in the Luis Robert Jr. market to address their center field needs. But First, let's talk about this game, specifically the offense, Clint, because like I said, we're going to talk about Dustin May, but the story of this game was the Dodgers probably should have scored a lot more than 5 runs. They had 10 hits. They had 5 walks. They had a hit by pitch. That's 16 base runners. Did they have somebody get out on an error too? They might have even had somebody. I can't remember.
I think, there was an error. Second baseman.
That's right. The one of them, they gave Ohtani a hit on it. Yeah, but the next play, he made an error. So, so 17 base runners, but they left 10 guys on base. Mike and Conforto ended 2 innings by grinding into double plays. Not ideal. And so it is easy, and I think it's easy to fall into the trap sometimes as fans of looking at just the raw left on base numbers. They left 10 guys on base. Come on, you can't. You only won this game because the Rockies suck. And that's probably a true statement.
Yes,
a better team.
Both can be true statements there. Like anybody else, any gooder team, any not now 3-14 team or whatever, they're probably going to give this team more of a run. That said, listen, a win's a win. It's a painful win, and Dodgers did just enough to hold them off.
Yeah, and what I was telling you a little bit earlier was I have a hard time with raw numbers on left on base, just because hypothetically, if you get runners on first and second with 2 outs, and then you get 4 straight singles, you're going to score at least 3 runs in that inning. But then you make the 3rd out, and we left the bases loaded. So it's 3 left on base, and you're like, seriously, and if you do that 9 times, 8 times, you wouldn't have to do it the 9th time probably. If you do that 8 times, you leave 24 runners on base, and you score 24 runs. You know what? I'll take the 24 runs. Obviously, that's an extreme example, but it kind of I like to use that example to show that the raw numbers don't show you that much. And so the fact is they did score 5 runs, which that's kind of the baseline we use sometimes for this team. With this pitching staff, you can score 5 runs, you're going to win most of the time. Obviously not sometimes when the Cubs score 16.
That might not be enough.
Although if the Dodgers offense had put up 5 runs in that game, it wouldn't have been Ben Casparius and Luis Garcia, or would have been Ben Casparius would have had a shorter hook. Luis Garcia would never have seen the game if it was 5-1 Dodgers. That's in that situation. The offense can help. And so 5 runs is absolutely something we will take, even against a bad Rockies team.
Yeah.
And it could have, you can definitely make a case it should have been more, and it very easily could have been more without really doing anything different. You look at the 2 outs by Shohei Ohtani, 2 flyouts to the wall.
Loud, long outs, yeah.
Loud, long outs. Both of them classified as barrels. The first one had a 770 expected batting average. The second one had a 580 expected batting average. Both of them, let's see, the first one would have been a home run at Angel Stadium. That little baby would have hit above the yellow line, like we're playing over the line in high school. And the second one would have been a home run at Wrigley Field and Citi Field. the first one, it was almost a triple. Like if those guys hadn't caught the ball, they run into each other. Shohei's probably at third base, and then maybe he gets a double later for the cycle. But all in all, like if those two balls go out or the guys drop the ball when they run into each other, that's a couple more runs.
Yeah, even just one of them. Yeah, I mean, there's the hope for more runs there, and more runs probably happen if the bottom of the lineup or even the middle of the lineup is doing something to help this team. But you mentioned a couple double plays for Conforto to open the game. Tommy Edman throws up an offer. Max Muncy, a couple walks, but he's still not really barreling a whole lot up and throws in some shaky defense there. Kike with the single. Pajes not doing too much, and that is the story of the early part of this season. When Shohei is going, when Mookie is going, if Freddie's in the lineup and he's going, this team will put up enough runs. They'll put up some runs at the bare minimum, 5 here because of, it is the Rockies. If you're playing, maybe not the same way, but still you need a little bit more consistency out of the bottom. I'm seeing people in the chat as well bringing it up like that the bottom of this lineup remains an issue.
Yeah, absolutely. And the reason I refer to it as a baby step and say baby step forward is better than a baby step backward is because, yes, it would have been fun if the Dodgers just said, how we've sucked the last 9 games? Now we don't anymore. That's not usually how it happens. It's more of a gradual breakout thing. And sometimes the first sign of a breakout is, hey, look, we got 17 base runners. Now, next step is score more of them and put up a 10 spot in a game, and maybe that's coming in this series. Maybe it's coming in the next series. But, I think the breakout does need to be gradual. This time it was still the top of the order carrying. And maybe that's masking a little bit that the bottom of the order really didn't do much today. I mean, I'll take Max Muncy getting on base 3 times. We've talked a lot how the issue is he's not walking as much and he's striking out too much. Well, his strikeout rate today was about his career norm, 1 for 4, 25%, and his walk rate was 50%. If he could do that every game, I'd take it. If it was surrounded by other guys, Edman hopefully will start hitting. Conforto will hopefully start hitting again. Pajes and Kike, I don't know. There may be personnel changes that need to happen at some point. But all of this is we've seen it so many times over the past decade of giving guys a chance to break out of their slumps. I remember early season 2018, Chris Taylor, how bad he was. And people were clamoring. And then Chris Taylor broke out and ended up having a really good season that year. We saw it with Jock Peterson, I think 2 or 3 different years, why is Jock still getting at bats? And, the same question that Rangers fans are asking right now about Jock Peterson, why is Jock still getting at bats? And then the answer was always, because he's a really good hitter.
We go back to Gavin Lux last year. Everybody clamoring for him to be sent to AAA. I had my hand raised very high saying, I would like to see him go to AAA. Dave loves this arbitrary 150 at bats number, but then doesn't really stick to it. Ultimately, Luxie ended up finding something last year, and you hope some of these guys, you need 2 of these guys to find something this year if this team's going to have a chance at beating, better teams than the 3-13 Rockies. Yeah. I don't want to be the negative dude here about it because a win is a win. Like you said, baby steps forward. Hey, first you start with the win, then you start with a blowout, or then you mix in a blowout. And then, you're talking about the not all numbers, in so many words, not all numbers being created equal and like the left on base numbers. Well, Dodgers love being run differential merchants as well with some of those, 10-1 blowout wins and all that. That's what this team really, really needs is a blowout win. And I think Dodgers fans really would love to see a blowout win because I can't remember the last time we've seen one. I think there have been some this year, but I can't remember what happened 3 hours ago.
Honestly, there hasn't been. I saw a stat the other day, like the Cubs and the White Sox are the 2 teams this year that have multiple wins by at least 7 runs. Cubs and White Sox, a good team and a bad team. But the Dodgers just kind of in that pack of, I think their biggest win was, 4 or 5 runs probably. I'm not looking at their schedule right now, but we haven't had a big game. And honestly, with Landon Knack and then somebody on Wednesday, would be a good time for the offense to take that next step forward, and maybe not a baby step, but maybe a larger step forward tomorrow is what we can hope for.
Yeah, I agree with our guy Seth Klein in here. 25-0 sounds nice. Let's go for insane record-setting blowouts. They got blown out in a record-setting loss over the weekend. they could return the favor. Well, I guess not return it because it's going to the Rockies, but fans, they deserve something crazy, insane going up in the offensive department for this team.
Yeah, I need to know if that's actually Seth's picture here, and I've never seen it till I popped up on the screen here. I need to be nice for that guy. I'm scared of him. But no, I like Seth.
I love Seth. Seth's a great dude.
Seth's good people. Seth found you because of me. I'll have you know. So,
I'm aware. And I appreciate you for it.
So the baby step on the offense was good. On the pitching side, Dustin May's legs don't do baby steps. You know, the long legs like that, it's always big steps.
He elbows really and kneecaps, as Vin might say.
He looked really good. We are going to talk about his continued dominance this season, including, yes, it was just the Rockies, but you know, the signs are there that it is real. So thank you for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen, and please keep it Locked On Dodgers. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. The NBA playoffs are almost here, and FanDuel is giving new customers an incredible way to get in on the action. Right now, when you join FanDuel and place your first $5 bet, you will get $250 in bonus bets if your bet wins. You know, FanDuel makes betting so easy, whether it's picking your favorite team or diving into player props. From three-pointers to steals to assists, FanDuel has so many ways to bet your favorite player props. Plus, after the game tips off, you can even combine live prop bets into a same-game parlay for a chance to win big. So don't miss out on your chance to get $250 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. Head to FanDuel.com and claim your $250 in bonus bets today. Hey, we are back. Thank you for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen every weekday morning. Thanks for being an everydayer. If you're not an everydayer, it's easy to become one. Just watch or listen every weekday morning. Be sure to, for your second listen, check out Locked On MLB, hosted by our buddy Paul Francis Sullivan, a.k.a. Sully. And go beyond the podcast and become a Locked On Dodgers insider by going to joinsubtext.com/LockedOnDodgers. Text directly with Vince and me, have one-on-one conversations, get access to our Discord server, all sorts of good stuff for just a few bucks a month with a free 14-day trial. And since my buddy Clint is here, be sure to check out All Dodgers with Clint Pasillas and Dodger Territory with Clint and Alana Rizzo over on the YouTubes and wherever you get podcasts. If you want to see what Clint looks like with his hat backwards, you have to go there because this is a classy joint here. We got us a strict dress code here. And speaking of classy joints and Dustin May's knees, I don't know. Knees are joints.
Segue.
You know? Yeah. Dustin May continues to look good. Obviously, he had a rough start on the road, but that was more defense induced than anything on him. After today, he went 6 innings, allowed just the 1 run, was dominant through 5, had allowed just 1 hit and 1 batter to reach on an error, then gave up 2 hits and a run in the 6th inning. Probably made the decision for Dave Roberts, because Dave Roberts was probably thinking, well, I kind of want to pull him after 6 anyway. Yeah. And then when Dustin May had to throw, roughly 25 pitches in the 6th inning, that made that decision easy. And, he may have wished he had sent him back out for the 7th after that. We won't dig too much in the bullpen here. Let's just say they made it interesting. But Dustin May looked outstanding. His ERA on the season is now down to 106. He struck out 7 in 6 innings. Again, just the 3 hits, the 1 run, no walks, and all with, I was watching the game, and my sons were in and out of the house with their friends and everything. But at one point, my 13-year-old says, "What pitch was that?" I said, "That was just a 4-seamer up in the zone." And he said, 94 miles an hour. and I said, "Yeah, Dustin May is not the 100-mile-an-hour fireballer anymore. And yet this is probably the best we've seen him pitch, even though his stuff, not stuff. His fastball velocity is less than it's ever been. But overall, he's probably the best pitcher he's been in his time in the big leagues."
Yeah, I really like this version of Dustin May that we're seeing. And that was something in the decision to reduce the velocity. I think it's still in the tank. They have kind of outright said it's more of a decision to not have him return to the injured list for the 80th time in his career. And you know what? We've seen a lot of very good pitchers get by with movement over velocity. Still throwing 94 to 96 is insane velocity with the type of movement he gets. And a big thing that that is a massive addition for him is he changed the grip. He changed the grip on that slider. It's a tighter, it has more sweep to it. It's more of a sweeper now than the down'em that we saw before, which was almost always a ball where he was essentially back in the day when, his elbow kept falling apart and all this. He was a one-pitch pitcher. People knew it. It was still very, very good. But now he is a complete pitcher. He has some options. He has things he can go to get out of situations, to get some punch, to get a ground ball. And suddenly we're talking about a dude who, coming out of spring training, the last week of spring training before Dave Roberts told my Dodgers Territory co-host Lana Rizzo and I that Tony Gonsolin injured his back and would not be claiming that fifth starter role. We're talking about a guy that Dustin May, we didn't know if he was going to be a fifth starter. We didn't know if he was going to be in the bullpen, maybe see some time in extended spring training or whatever. But now, in my opinion, this is the second best pitcher on this Dodgers roster right now. And the healthy pitcher in the Dodgers starting rotation. He is nasty. He's filthy. And 1.06 ERA is pretty dang good.
Yeah, I think you definitely make a case for that. I'm going to need to see it a little bit longer. Right now, I think I still
small sample size
trust Tyler Glasnow a little more. But it definitely doesn't surprise me. When
I love the poise of May over Glasnow sometimes. It seems like, we saw it, Glas, struggling in the rain and all that, and not saying that that's him being a little baby about it. Obviously, he had a fair gripe not being able to kind of land that plant foot in Philadelphia. But what we're seeing out of Dustin, when he's been healthy, he's been an ace level dude. He didn't always have the strikeout, and now you introduce that strikeout. It's just about continuing to pile up these starts and hopefully get to career highs and innings and starts and all this kind of stuff. He's on his way to something special.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously we're excluding Blake Snell there because we're talking about people currently on the active roster. Snell this year has, not been Cy Young level Blake Snell, but, hopefully he will be when he comes back, if, depending on how much that shoulder was affecting the pitching, all of that. But when you start to look at this with Dustin May stepping up like this, he was the number 5 starter. Like you said, he was the last one chosen, last guy picked in the PE class. And
just like us.
And then, and just like us, he came out and said, should have picked me sooner, bro. He's been outstanding.
Yeah.
And when you look at, Yamamoto, ace level right now, Dustin May, Tyler Glasnow, Blake Snell, Roki Sasaki, if he can even grow into 40% of his potential here in this rookie year.
Talk about baby steps. About baby steps. Just keep on growing. Every start has been a little bit better than his last start. And, Roki, you just need him to show up there every week, come out, do your job every Saturday, and we're feeling good. And that's been huge for this team that's already struggled with some injury bugs and all of that. But, if Dustin May can continue doing this, this is a phenomenal problem for this team to have down the road.
And the offense could help Roki Sasaki, kind of like the offense helped Dustin May tonight. The fact he had a 5-run lead. So, when things start to get that, you can still keep throwing strikes,
Yeah, say perfect timing in the comments there. Johnny Owen says, don't they need run support? Yeah, it kind of does help to get some, unless somebody said in my All Dodgers Discord earlier saying, if somebody can, or actually it might have been the Dodgers Territory comments, but either way, I'm just finding a way to hawk my stuff here. Saying that if the Dodgers can somehow find a way to have negative runs for the other team, then they could win with 0 runs and everything will be fine. But that's not a way you can win ball games yet in Major League Baseball. Yeah, even the 65 Dodgers. My Uncle Jim, the Giants fan, gets so mad whenever I bring up those mid-60s Dodgers who won World Series with, just based on pitching. They're scoring 2 runs a game and they're winning the World Series. And it makes them so mad. So, but yeah, this team is not necessarily going to be that. And especially guys like Roki and May, who are still, working on those steps. Some offense could definitely help them out. Even Blake Snell, maybe stop nibbling the zone, man. You're up 4-0. Just throw strikes and trust your stuff. I do wonder how much of that was the shoulder inflammation and him just kind of not being able to really get through it, or him nibbling. I think it's a little more of the former than the latter.
Yeah, probably, hopefully anyway. And then you've got Shohei Ohtani and Tony Gonsolin, who are both coming back at some point. Clayton Kershaw coming back at some point. We'll see what role he fills, what needs to be filled at that point. Maybe we're doing a 7-man rotation. Who knows?
Hey, there's also going to be an Emmett Sheehan factor. There's still Nick Frasso on this roster. We're probably going to see Bobby Miller if it hasn't been announced yet. We're going to most likely see Bobby Miller on Wednesday, somebody that just a year ago we were expecting to be a 3-4 dude in this rotation. Now all of a sudden not a factor. He's been pretty okay at AAA so far. Yeah, there's a lot of talent in that pitching staff, and some of these dudes, we're looking at the bullpen as well, kind of having some early season struggles. Maybe pieces get moved around to end up in that bullpen. I'm glad I don't need to make a lot of those decisions, or any of those decisions rather, because it sounds like painful conversations to have.
Yep. And then there's Jackson Ferris, who's knocking on the door. There's so much going on. I'll take this chance before we take our next break to tell Richie I do read the chat. I just ignore it. I think that's all we need to say about this particular game. The Dodgers won. We'll take a win over a loss any day.
Dustin could score more points than the other guy. You win.
Yep. # baseball, baby.
We're back. Dodgers all the way back.
So
that loss is going to hit tomorrow. All right, sorry. I'll stop interrupting.
They're not going to lose tomorrow. Stop it. The Dodgers do need some help, possibly on the defensive side, possibly at the bottom of their lineup. And one guy who could maybe address both of those needs would be White Sox center fielder Luis Robert Jr., who it was rumored again that the Dodgers are engaged or have been engaged in talks with the White Sox. We are going to go over not all the pros and cons, because we could probably do 10 straight 30-minute episodes about all the pros and cons of a Luis Robert trade. But we're going to dig into some of that when we come back. So thank you for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen, and please keep it Locked On Dodgers. This episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. Basketball and hockey playoffs are heating up, and there's no better way to turn your sports knowledge into real rewards than with Prize Picks, the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy. With Prize Picks, you simply pick more or less on at least 2 player projections, and you're in. You can even combine players across sports, basketball, hockey, baseball, and more for your chance to win up to 2,000 times your cash. So you know what? You think Luka Doncic is going to score more than 28 points and Jason Tatum's going to have more than 8 rebounds? Boom, you can do that. You can even mix sports. You think Luka Doncic is going to score a bunch of points and Shohei Ohtani is going to hit a home run. Try that one. All sorts of different things, whatever you want to do. Just download the Prize Picks app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONMLB to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, run your game. Hey, we are back. Thank you for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen every weekday morning. Thanks again for being here with us live on Monday evening. Good crowd here, good chat going on that I am reading, but you know what? We got an agenda for this show. We got stuff to talk about, baby. So become a Locked On Dodgers insider. Check out all the Clint stuff, blah, 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 blah. Getting into Dodger talk.
Rumors.
That's
what people love, right? We're rumor mongers now.
Especially Bob Nightingale rumors. Those ones.
Oh, God. There's something special about a Bob Nightingale rumor.
Yeah. And so what Bob Nightingale said was that the Dodgers and White Sox have been in talks about Luis Robert, a trade that would be for James Outman and a top prospect. And then he also says the talks have been tabled for now. And I feel like this is almost to the level of not being a rumor because that phrase and a top prospect is doing a lot of work there because James Outman is not the value proposition in that trade. No. And so top prospect could mean a lot of different things. One thing I know for sure is that the reason the Dodgers did not acquire Garrett Crochet last year is because they were unwilling to include Dalton Rushing in a trade for Garrett Crochet. I don't think they would include Dalton Rushing in a trade for Luis Robert if they wouldn't include him in a trade for Garrett Crochet. You with me on that one, Clint?
That's a pretty short reach right there. I'm 100% with you on that one.
So we know it's not the top prospect. So a top prospect could mean, I don't know, it could mean one of their top 20 prospects. Hey, he's on a prospect list, maybe
Yep.
it means, I saw people speculating, throwing out like Josue de Paula, his
Hell no,
name.
not even slightly.
Yeah. I feel like de Paula, these guys with major potential, like I think the Dodgers would be more likely to do a, Outman and a mid-tier, a 10 to 15 range in the organization prospect and another prospect or two than to go big on quality.
Yeah, I could see, honestly, I could see it being even like 15 and lower, because I think they do like a lot of the guys in their top 10. Few of those guys are also injured or whatever, but it's we're talking about the White Sox. This is not a team that's knocking on the door of being competitive, of being good in any way, shape, or form. They get Outman. He's not a major league outfielder. Maybe he would do better. I mean, he's probably going to do about the same as Luis Robert. As a big leaguer at the moment right now, if we're being fair, maybe he has a little bit better there, but try not to web my way too much into this. But I think it would be a pitcher. The Dodgers have a lot of pitcher. My long way around to saying I think they have a lot of arms they could throw at it, arms that won't necessarily see time in the big leagues. They also got a lot of outfielders. You mentioned Josue de Paula. He's untouchable. Catcher, outfielder, if you want to call him that. Dalton Rushing, of course, untouchable. But there are a few of those kind of lower level arms, or maybe even middle infielders. Just looking here, top 30 prospects. Noah Miller is one of those names. There was another guy I saw, Joandry Vargas, probably not involved in those kind of trades, because we're talking about a dude who's hitting what, under $150.
Yeah,
that's the other problem.
That's the next topic is. Yes, the Dodgers have the players they could use to get Luis Robert Jr.
Oh, yeah. 100%.
Luis Robert Jr., I should have pulled him up on MLB.com because they have up to the minutes. Maybe he went 12 for 12 today, and so his stats look good. He did not go 12 for 12 today. Interestingly.
Breaking.
He's batting 163 with a 495 OPS. That's not good. It's bad. That's the word I'm looking for. It's bad.
Yeah.
And maybe I do think he's better than that. Oh, the White Sox didn't play today. So I could have just stayed on Baseball Reference.
Hey, how did he get a worse average if they didn't? Oh, it is. I thought I saw. Listen, it's late.
Internet's hard.
Internet is hard. I think this is something we need to consider with Luis Robert, because this is a dude we talked about, Lou Bob, a lot last year on your channel, a lot last year on my channel, leading up to the trade deadline, and we are now at least one calendar year further removed from that 38 home run season. His good seasons are now further and further away from him, and yes, the Dodgers fix people. I'm sure a change of scenery would help him. Is there a reasonable trade to take a flyer on this dude? Probably. And if it starts at James Outman plus one more 15 to 25 guy, or 20 to 30 guys, I think the Dodgers, it doesn't hurt to take that kind of flyer. That's my thoughts on it, at least.
Yeah. And I see somebody in the chat saying he's not worth the $20 million that he makes. And, it's actually not 20 million this year. It's 20 million next year. This year, it's only 15 million. Which only 15 million.
Can I borrow 15 million real quick?
In Dodgers baseball terms, that's basically nothing. The two team options for the next 2 years are for 20 million each, and it's entirely possible that the Dodgers look at Luis Robert and say, "Oh, we know what's wrong with him." Part of it is the Michael Kopech problem of he plays for a crappy team, and it's hard to play well for a crappy team. And part of it is, we see some specific thing. They could absolutely know more than we do about him and decide it's totally worth it. He's definitely a defensive upgrade in center over Andy Pajes. I noticed again tonight, seeing Andy Pajes in right field. Andy Pajes is perfectly fine in right field defensively. Of course, if he can't hit, that still doesn't help anything. And so, like I said, we could do 10 hours on pros and cons of Luis Robert. Well, he's cheap. Yes, but he sucks. Yes, but he's very talented. It's
a lottery ticket. It's like a $5-10 lottery ticket, it feels like.
Yeah, if you were designing a baseball player, he would look a lot like Luis Robert as far as the skills go.
Yeah.
And even this year, like it's like, yes, he has bad numbers, but the strikeout rate is back down to close to his career average after being way up last year. His walk rate is actually the highest it's been. Problem is he's not hitting with any power. And
what is his speed percentile anyway? I don't know if you're on that page.
I'm not, but I will be in a sprint speed leaders.
Whoa, how did you do that?
Hashtag Google, baby.
He's an internet whiz, ladies and gentlemen.
Luis Robert Jr., 29.0. So he is tied with such superstars as Jarren Duran, notably fast, Jake McCarthy, notably fast, Tyler Fitzgerald, a lot of fast guys, a little bit faster than. So yeah, he would be the fastest Dodger. From
noting 6 stolen bases this year, which is leading the American League. And that's barely getting on base, so that's pretty impressive.
Yeah. You've got, that's a little bit faster than Edman, a little bit faster than Teo. I assume Shohei's on this list somewhere, and I'm just not seeing him.
I'll spit a little bit here, as the kids might say. I'm again, already kind of said this, but if the cost is reasonable, the player cost is reasonable, like you said, the money part of it is non-factor for this Dodgers team. Now it's whether or not it's better for the Dodgers to consider going out of organization. And this was something we talked to Jerry Harrison Jr. about today, our friend Jay Hare on the Dodgers territory about this Luis Robert rumor. It's like, hey, would they look external, or would they rather explore some of the options they have in the organization right now? We've seen some people, including in this chat, clamoring for Alex Freeland to get an opportunity. Hae-Sung Kim is looking pretty okay at AAA in a small sample size as well. And we know Tommy Edman could play center field. I do worry. I'm starting to get into the I decided to make it my mission to have a narrative or have somebody to dislike. So I'm raising an eyebrow at Michael Conforto just for fun, just to give me something to wake up to.
Yeah, between the misplay last night and then the 2 double plays today, yeah, I need him to step up a little bit for sure.
Yeah, and to have Conforto with again misplay, did not look good on that play in left field. A couple double plays today, and beyond that, your help is Kike Hernandez hitting, $150. Yeah, he got a single today. Chris Taylor, it's if Luis Robert is taking Chris Taylor's spot in the roster, I feel a lot better. At least just giving yourself, you're raising that floor a little bit. And if Lou Bob could be anything like that dude he was in 23, 22, 21,
even the first half of last year.
Yeah, exactly. Before I think he got hurt again. He was a very good baseball player. He's still not even 28 as of this moment. He's somebody, again, it's worth taking a flyer on. But there is definitely depends on what that Bob Nightingale. Yeah. What is that prospect? Because there is a cutoff point.
Yeah, absolutely. I suspect this won't be the last time that Luis Robert's name comes up on this podcast or any of Clint's various assorted podcasts. But I think it's going to be the last thing we talk about today because we are done. You got any last words before we wrap this up, Clint?
Just don't lose tomorrow, boys. Let's keep on accumulating those baby steps. Maybe even go as far as to score double-digit runs. Give us something to have some joy about because we know Landon Naxton needs some help.
Yeah, and if you keep on not losing, then you turns out that's a big long winning streak. So do that because 156-6 is still on the table, baby. That'll do it for us. Thank you all for being here with us, either live or after the fact, first listen, last listen, whatever it is. We appreciate you. Appreciate all our everydayers. If you're not an everydayer, it's easy to become one. Just watch or listen every weekday morning. Be sure to go away on the podcast and become a Locked On Dodgers insider by going to joinsubtext.com/Locked On Dodgers. Excuse me. Sure to check out the all new Locked On MLB game night on Locked On MLB or on YouTube or wherever you get podcasts. Catch up on every game in about 30 minutes, just like you do with Locked On Dodgers. You can follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at Locked On Dodgers. Vince is on Twitter at VinceSense91. Clint is on Twitter at RealFRG. I'm on Twitter at Snydog. DMs are open for all of us there. You can also email us, lockedondodgers@gmail.com, or send us a voicemail or a text message at 323-863-LOCK5625. We are here every weekday morning. We hope you'll be here with us. When you get in your car or sit on your couch, tell your smart device to play podcast Locked On Dodgers. And remember, you don't have to agree. You just have to listen. We'll talk to you tomorrow.
Bye.